Good morning, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all for the International Virtual Conference on New Facets of Consumer Law. National Law School of India University was established in 1986. The premier law school was set up with a vision to pioneer legal education reforms and to anchor the transformation of the Indian legal system. Today, the themes of the conference is the new facets of consumer protection. All the new areas of the consumer protection which is the need of the hour, and the discussion becomes inevitable. In Indian history, first time the consumer law in practice has been established in August 2008 at the National Law School of India University, Bangalore, by the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, New Delhi, to promote the research, teaching, training, and consumer law and practice. With this, I welcome Professor Dr. Ashoka Patil to deliver his welcome address and give his opening remarks for the international conference. Thank you. So,
thank you very much. Good morning, all. On the eve of National Consumer Rights Day 2022, this particular conference, International Virtual Conference on New Facets of Consumer Protection, Challenges and Way Forward. It is jointly organized by Chair on Consumer Law and Practice at National Law School, which was established by Minister of Consumer Affairs, Government of India in 2008. And also, we are jointly in this particular conference with the Minister of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. And another very important international journal, which we are publishing, IJCLP International Journal on Consumer Law and Practice, which is the first Scopus journal in Asia, especially on consumer protection. So altogether, we are organizing this particular international conference. We started planning of this international conference 2 months back, and whomsoever I contacted to as a resource person, as a chief guest, everybody happily agreed. And that shows all the experts, all the chief guests, their dedication towards this particular consumer protection in India. And there are experts abroad also, they accepted our invitation. We received around 400 odd abstracts throughout the world. And out of 400, we selected 50 abstracts. And out of 50, we requested for submission of full papers. Out of 50, we selected 24 for presentation. And we have a 6, after inauguration, we have a 6 parallel sessions. So all those 6 parallel sessions, our topics are very challenging one. And we are eager to look into the keynote speakers and also the paper presenters. And what we have planned at the end of this conference, we will make a points of every session, and we are submitting all those suggestions to Minister of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, as well as the Consumer International, which is working at the international level. And also, out of 24 presenters, we are selecting best papers out of 24, and we are publishing in a book form with the ISBN number. And best 3 papers will get a cash prize and certificates. So this book and cash prize will be given on 24th December 2022 at the New Delhi program. So that is the plan. So with this, I introduce today's chief guest. So when I contacted Justice Agarwal sir, so he happily agreed, and always Justice R.K. Agarwal, President of National Commission, Consumer Commission, always he helped us in conducting these programs, and that motivated us to do more number of programs. So let me introduce Justice R.K. Agarwal, sir. Justice R.K. Agarwal is the President of National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, New Delhi. Honorable Justice Agarwal hails from Uttar Pradesh. Justice did his graduation in law from Allahabad University. He enrolled as advocate on 14th 8 1976, practiced on civil side and dealt with the constitutional, company, service, educational, and taxation matters. Justice worked as a standing counsel of the Income Tax Department of Government of India, elevated as a permanent judge of Allahabad High Court on 5/2/1999, assumed office as acting Chief Justice High Court of Madras on 7/2/2013, assumed office as a Chief Justice High Court of Madras on 24/10/2013. He was appointed as a judge of Supreme Court of India and so on 17/2/2014 and retired on 4/5/2018. Then he was appointed as a president of National Consumer Commission on 1/7/2018. Since then, National Law School is associating with justice, and always we got a good response. So that's why we requested Justice Agarwal to be inaugurate this particular international conference. So with this brief introduction, I welcome you, sir, for this international conference. Then the Secretary, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, Rohit Kumar Singh. I also in touch with sir, and always he's a motivator for doing innovative things, and out of box he thinks, and ultimately what is the best for the society, he tries to do that. And also first time in Indian history since 2008 I'm associating with Ministry of Consumer Affairs. First time, this time training to the district consumer forum members and state commission members. For them, special training is provided by all the national law schools in their states to that particular state district commission members. So that is the great thing recently we have observed, and every state is conducting these programs. So let me give brief introduction about our secretary. Sri Rohit Kumar Singh is an IAS officer of the 1989 batch, Rajasthan cadre. After graduating in electrical engineering from IIT, then Banaras Hindu University, he completed masters in computer engineering from Clarkson University, New York, USA, before joining the IAS. So subsequently, he obtained masters in public administration from Harvard University, USA. He led the government initiative of reviving public-private partnership in national highways via key policy interventions like the hybrid annuity model through appropriate risk allocation among the public and private partners. He also successfully led the initiative of asset cycling of public funded national highways, toll operate transfer model that resulted in one of the largest FDI in the highways sector, amounting to 1.5 billion US dollars. One of the first successful asset monetization in India. As an additional chief secretary of the Department of Medical Health Family Welfare in Rajasthan during the first wave of COVID-19 in the year 2020, he developed and deployed Bilwara model of the successful management to control the COVID in rural and urban hotspots across the Rajasthan. And later, from there, Sir joined Ministry of Consumer Affairs as a secretary on 31st December 2021. From then, Sir is working hard for the Indian consumer protection. Lot of innovations are coming out. We are still awaiting new things in future. So with this brief introduction, I welcome you, sir, for this conference. Another chief guest of today's inaugural session, Mr. Hem Kumar Pandey, a postgraduate in botany. Mr. Hem Pandey joined Indian Administrative Services in 1982 and served during 2016 and 17 as a secretary to Government of India in the Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. Mr. Pandey also holds a master's degree in business administration from Swinburne University of Technology, Melbourne, Australia. He has 36 years of experience as a civil servant and 3 years of teaching in university. When Sir was a Secretary Minister of Consumer Affairs, during that time, this new amendment to this 2018 and before that 2015 bill. So a lot of work is done by Sir, and Sir also always visited National Law School and encouraged us in doing a lot of activities. So when I requested Sir, agreed to be a chief guest of inaugural session. Sir, I welcome you, sir, for this international conference. And I also welcome Miss Helena Laurent. Yesterday, she called me because of emergency. She is not attending inaugural session physically, but she has sent a video recording of her inaugural address speech. So let me introduce her in her physical absence. Helena Laurent is a Director General of Consumer International, the membership organization for over 200 consumer advocacy groups in more than 100 countries around the world. Consumers International works with the members and partners in government, civil society, business, and academia to empower and champion the rights of consumers everywhere and to drive change in the marketplace on global consumer issues, including the future of food, finance, e-commerce, sustainability, product safety, digital access, and rights. Consumers International is the consumer voice in international policy-making forums and the global marketplace to ensure consumers are treated safely, fairly, and honestly worldwide. Prior to joining Consumers International, Helena worked for the World Economic Forum, developing global partnerships and programs with the government, business, civil society, and academia on issues such as advanced manufacturing, sustainable agriculture, and humanitarian assistance. She has worked for Tesco Stores, Unilever, McKinsey and Company, and LEK partnership. Helena holds an MA from University of Oxford and MBA from Kellogg School of Management. She lives in Switzerland with her husband and 2 children. So I welcome you, Ms. Helena, for this international conference. So I also welcome Dr. S.M. Kantikar, a member of National Consumer Commission. He is alumnus of National Law School. He did a PhD in consumer protection in medical negligence, medical profession from National Law School. And we are proud of Kantikar being a National Law School alumnus, being a member of National Commission. Welcome you, sir. So with this, I conclude my welcome address and I request Tasnim to take over.
The development of new technology in the form of e-commerce and the increasing integration of global markets and supply chains have changed the way consumers interact with the marketplace. This has given new rise to new challenges for the consumer, and the existing consumer protection framework falls short in dealing with them. To address these concerns, the Consumer Protection Act 2019 seeks to lay down a more robust theme for consumer protection with the introduction of new measures such as establishment of a general regulator providing for a product liability regime, encouraging mediation and developing appropriate regulations to protect and promote the rights of consumers. Commentary on Consumer Protection Act 2019, authored by Professor Patil, provides a comprehensive analysis of the said act. It covers all the facets of consumer law in India from a critical lens, tracing the development of consumer law jurisprudence and policy measures undertaken by the government and highlighting the salient features of the Consumer Protection Act 2019 and the rules, the regulations framed therein. With this, I call Justice R.K. Agarwal to deliver his inaugural address.
Dear friends, a very good morning to all of you. I am extremely delighted to be associated and be part of today's conference, being organized especially in the context of threat imposed to the protection of the consumer right on account of online purchasing of the goods and services on social media platform. At the outset, I would like to convey my thanks to the organizing committee for giving me an opportunity to share my views on the aforesaid burning issue, and also would like to congratulate Professor Dr. Ashok R. Patil, Professor of Law, National Law School of India University, Bangalore, for release of his books titled as Commentary on Consumer Protection Act 2019. I have an occasion to go through his books and appreciate the pain and efforts taken by Dr. Patil. The book contains all the information in respect of protection of the consumer rights and intends to spread awareness. I am sure that the book will certainly prove a valuable asset and not only to the general public, professionals, but also to the consumer commissions. With the growth of internet and advent of a global economy, the world has become one of big marketplace, and all of us, irrespective of who or where we are, have become consumers by buying goods or services. Globalization and industrial revolution have transformed the Indian economy into a vibrant and rapidly growing consumer market. However, intensification of economic growth aided by technological innovations, increased consumer choice has also brought with it newer challenges to the consumers in the form of variety, quality, or pricing options, and the consumers are finding it difficult to make a wise decision as markets are flooded with multiple goods and services, more so with the advent of e-commerce. In our country, the problem is aggravated due to the sheer heterogeneity of the huge, large consumer base. Ignorance, illiteracy, lack of consumer education and awareness restricts the consumers in taking advantage of the choices available in the market. Adding to consumer woes is the problem of misleading advertisements, wherein a lot of unrealistic and unscientific claims are made by the sellers to lure the consumers. It is often said that in a free market environment, consumers are sovereign, since they have the options of when, where, and how, and what to buy from the market. But the reality is that a considerable number of consumers are exploited in many ways by the business organizations by sale of unsafe products, adulteration, and hoarding of goods, using wrong weights and measures, charging excessive prices, misleading advertisements, fake review on social media platform, and sale of inferior quality of goods, deficient services, etc. The renowned US economist John K. Galbraith truly once said, I quote, "It is not the consumer who is the king, but it is the large corporation who is the king in the economy. Whatever happens is not because the consumer wants it, but because large and powerful corporations prefer it that way," unquote. Thus, consumer protection is required to safeguard their rights and interests against exploitation by the unfair trade practices of the producers and sellers. In fact, providing proper protection of the fundamental rights and interests of the consumers, freeing them from exploitation, creating consumer awareness, and providing the right to clean business environment to the consumers by means of legal amendments is all that protection means. A consumer right is the hallmark of consumer protection law. Every consumer has a right to have information about the quality, potential, quantity, purity, price, and standard of goods or services as it may be the case. But the consumer is to be protected against any unfair practice of the trade. It is very essential for the consumers to know these rights. There is an inequality of bargaining power between the consumer and the producer, which leads to the exploitation of the consumer. Consumer protection covers the rights and privileges of consumers and how these rights should be accorded to them. The major aim of consumer protection law is to empower the consumers so as to enable him to enjoy their rights. The Consumer Protection Act 1986 was brought in with the intention to protect consumers' interests and bring shift from the then prevalent concept of caveat emptor, let the buyers beware, to caveat venditor, seller be aware. The 1986 Act regulated the consumer market for both goods and services and issues arising thereunder for a long period of more than 3 decades, with 3 amendments to face the challenges arising at the relevant time. But the potential of the internet to create a virtual borderless market made the domestic territorial based consumer protection laws incompatible with the non-territorial or cross-border nature of e-transactions, raising issues relating to enforceability of the judgments and law. Therefore, it was felt that the 1986 Act was not mitigating the purpose for which it was enacted, and a robust legal framework was required to regulate the industries and protect the interests of consumers. Keeping this in mind and to address the new set of challenges faced by the consumers in the digital age, the Consumer Protection Act 2019 has come into existence in July 2020. By enacting the Consumer Protection Act 2019, the central government has given holistic and all-encompassing definitions of consumer rights, e-commerce, endorsement, product liability, unfair contract, misleading advertisement, inserted telecom in the definition of service, provided for establishment of Central Consumer Protection Authority with the power of search and seizure and issue directions and penalties against false or misleading advertisements. Some of the salient features of the 2019 Act are, while the 1986 Act was facing various difficulties with its implementation on various tele-shopping and online transactions, the 2019 Act has removed any muddle on its applicability in similar circumstances. The scope of the application of consumer law has been enshrined by the 2019 Act by modifying the definition of the consumer. Explanation small b to subsection 7 of section 2 of the 2019 Act includes offline and online transactions through electronic means in the expression of buys and any goods and hires or avails any services. Further, to address emergence of global supply chains, rapid developments of e-commerce, and to tackle misleading advertisements, telemarketing, multi-level marketing, and direct selling, the 2019 Act has attempted to define e-commerce under subsection 16 of section 2 of the Act as buying or selling of goods or services, including digital products over digital or electronic network. The central government on 23rd of July 2020 has also notified the Consumer Protection E-commerce Rules 2020, which contains the various rules regarding scope and applicability, duties of e-commerce entities, liabilities of marketplace, e-commerce entities, duties of seller on marketplace, and duties and liabilities of inventory, e-commerce entities, etc. Further, to simplify the consumer dispute resolution process and to ensure speedy and quick redressal of the consumer grievance, following provisions have been made in the new Act. While the 2019 Act, when the 2019 Act came to force, the upper limit of pecuniary jurisdiction of the District Forum, State Commission, and the National Commission was increased from rupees 20 lakhs, rupees 1 crore, and above rupees 1 crore to rupees 1 crore, rupees 10 crore, and above rupees 10 crore respectively. However, by notification of the Consumer Protection jurisdiction of the District Commission, the State Commission, and the National Commission Rules 2021, the pecuniary jurisdiction of the District Commission, State Commission, and the National Commission has been revised up to rupees 50 lakhs, rupees 2 crores, and above rupees 2 crores respectively. The term peculiar jurisdiction has also been defined in the new Act as where the value of the goods and services paid as consideration as against the earlier term where the value of goods or services and compensation, if any, claimed. Thus, the value of consideration paid is not to be taken into consideration while determining the peculiar jurisdiction of the various fora instead of the value of goods. Under section 40, 50, and 60 of the 2019 Act, now the district forum, the state commission, the national commission has been given the power to review any orders. Under subsection under clause D of subsection 2 of section 34, the place of residence of the complainant and the place where the complainant personally works for gain has been included for determining the territorial jurisdiction of the consumer fora. Another important feature of the new act is that the complaint can now be filed electronically. In case of appeal, the party against whom any amount is ordered by the district commission, the state commission, and the national commissioner is required to deposit 50% of the awarded amount under the new act. But this provision will apply to only complaints filed on or after the enforcement of the 2019 Act. Section 10 of the new Act proposes the establishment of a regulatory authority known as Central Consumer Protection Authority. The central authority has to protect, promote, and enforce the rights of consumers and regulate cases related to unfair trade practices, misleading advertisements, and violation of consumer rights. The authority has also the right to take suo motu actions, recall products, order reimbursement of the price of goods or services, cancel licenses, impose penalties, and file class action suits. It has an investigation wing under the supervision of the Director General to conduct independent inquiry or investigation into consumer law violations. Subsection 34 of section 2 permits the complainant to make a claim of product liability against a product manufacturer or a product service provider or even a product seller for any personal injury, illness, death, or property damage resulting from defects in manufacture, construction, design, formula preparation, assembly, testing, service, warning, instructions, mark, packing, labeling of any product, etc. Subsections 82 to 87 deal with the procedure of product liability. The product liability on a manufacturer has to be considered to be of a stricter sense in nature to that of service provider and seller, as the manufacturer shall be liable even if he proves that he was not negligent or fraudulent in making the express warranty of the product. To meet the objective of providing speedy, inexpensive justice, especially to small consumers, a new chapter Roman 5 on mediation as an alternate dispute redressal mechanism has also been inserted. The 2019 Act has also attempted to bring the Consumer Protection Act under the ambit of criminal jurisdiction. Section 71 of the new Act states that every order made by a consumer forum shall be enforced by it in the same manner as if it were a decree made by a court in a suit before it, and the provisions of the Order 21 of the first schedule of the Code of Civil Procedure 1908 shall, as far as may be applicable. Subsection 1 of section 72 further provides that whoever fails to comply with any other good order made by the consumer forum shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 1 month, but which may extend to 3 years, or with fine which shall not be less than 25,000 rupees, but which may extend to 1 lakh rupees, or with both. I would like to conclude with the words that Consumer Protection Act 2019 is a revolutionary legislation that will bring numerous reforms in consumer rights. The new act includes certain provisions that are need of the hour in the era of digitalization, like e-filing, proceedings through video conferencing, and inclusion of e-commerce in the realm of consumer laws. E-commerce has become a gift to all consumers in the COVID-19 pandemic aftermath. The e-commerce rules 2020 follow the stringent consumer protection regime under the new act. In the current trend of marketing, the consumer is a lifeblood of all its functioning. The market gets screwed, and sometimes the consumer has to suffer the brunt of it. Therefore, consumer education and protection are the act of providing consumers with complete information about the goods, services, and their rights. Consumer awareness is very important as they invest their time and money in marketing activities, and they have a right to intransparent information. Misleading advertisements, unsafe product, overcharging, and underweighing and other malpractices are performed by unscrupulous businessmen. Consumer awareness is an act of saving consumers from such delinquencies. Consumer awareness campaigns, Jago Grahak Jago, is a well-established campaign which has shielded consumers against marketing malpractices and has successfully redressed the consumer complaints. Awareness is one of the ways in which the objective of the consumer protection can be achieved. Sincere efforts from all the four corners are required to be taken to make the consumers aware of their rights and responsibilities. A consumer is well informed about his rights and reliefs available to him would be in a position to raise his voice against any unfair trade practices or unscrupulous exploitation, and an understanding of his responsibilities would also enable him to safeguard his interests. In addition to this, the business organizations have also developed a self-regulating system for redressal of the consumer grievance. A business must lay emphasis on protecting the consumers and adequately satisfying them, because this will be in the long interest of the business. Business organizations use resources which belong to society. Thus, they thus have a responsibility to supply such products and render such services which are in public interest and would not impair public confidence in them. The 2019 Act promises a fresh and a positive new changes for consumers and a step ahead in the area of consumer protection law. The analysis of the new Act would reveal that several provisions have been introduced, as stated above, to protect the interests of the consumers at par with the emerging market trends. I am sure that the changes that have been made in the 2019 Act will most certainly ensure a safer and fairer market of the consumers to interact with the providers, but to what extent only time will tell. Last but not the least, I would like to say you do not live to buy, but you buy to live. This, these views will also be applied to the recent trend of e-marketing, purchasing on the internet, etc. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your insightful words, sir. That was really insightful and very meaningful. With this, I request you again to release the book, that is Commentary on Consumer Protection Act 2019, and I apologize for the technical glitch that has happened because of the network issue. Over to you, sir.
Though I have written the foreword in the book, I congratulate Dr. Patil for his hard work in getting the book published. I hereby release the book with all my good wishes to him. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, I would like to call Professor Ashokar Patil to introduce and call for launch of our website for IGCLP, that is International Journal for Consumer Law. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Tasneem. I'm proud to introduce International Journal on Consumer Law and Practice. This journal, again, under the motivation of Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, we started in 2013. And this is all best practices throughout the world. Those articles are published. And now it is a Scopus Index Journal, UGC Care. Next one. And especially this particular issue, past 9 volumes, contains challenging areas like consumer welfare legislations, digital era, technical advancement, effectiveness of mediation, international consumer protection framework. All these things are covered, and many articles are published by many experts throughout the world, even including our Justice Sikri, published an article in this, and it's a first Scopus Index international consumer journal in Asia. And also it is indexed in UGC Care, Hain Online, SSC Online, and Google Scholar. Just I will take you to the website for 1 minute. So this is a new website we launched. We are launched today from you. So this is the journal which is less human intervention. So whosoever wants to publish an article in this journal, it is user friendly, and they can use this particular website, and everything, all the details are given in this advisory board, editorial board. For this advisory board, Justice Agarwal is also there, and many experts throughout the world, they are there. Just advisory board. So here in our journal advisory board, Justice Agarwal sir and Marimuthu he's a president of Consumer International, Professor Hans McKenzie, he's a professor of economics, European University Institute, and Geraint Howells, executive dean. Then Ranbir Singh, our former vice chancellor of Nalsar and NLU Delhi, Professor Gair Pearson, professor from Sydney University, Professor Vijay Kumar, presently vice chancellor of NLU Bhopal, and Professor C. Rajshekhar, former dean and chairman, Department of Law, Karnataka University. So under their guidance, we are publishing this journal. And today we designed, and our vice chancellor, registrar, and our journal section team, Nishta, all together, and my colleagues, Akshay, everybody together, we worked, and ultimately today it is released with a new look to the public. So thank you very much for launching this international journal website. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for launching the IGCLP website. It is one of a kind, also the journal that we talk about. It deals with all the consumer-related affairs, and it gives me immense pleasure to acknowledge that this is the first of its own kind dealing with the consumer protection and the new facets of the same. With this, I invite Shri Rohit Kumar Singh, our chief guest, to deliver his address.
Namaskar, good morning. Respected Justice Agarwal, our main inspiration and guide in the consumer protection ecosystem of the country, Professor Patil, other esteemed guests, and all other participants. First of all, let me extend a very warm welcome to all of you to this seminar, and I want to thank the organizers for giving us an opportunity to participate in this and to address the participants. I think as Justice Agarwal very eloquently mentioned, the consumer world, the dynamics are changing, and both the law, the government, the enforcement, and most of all the awareness amongst consumers has to keep pace with the changing world. And I don't remember the last sorry, the last quote that the Justice Agarwal said about the large corporations driving the agenda and not the consumers driving the agenda. So I don't remember the quote exactly, but I think the sense was that with the changing dynamic, the power equation between the consumer and the suppliers is now heavily tilted in favor of the suppliers, the big corporations. And that is why there is more and more need to enhance the consumer protection framework, more and more need to empower the consumer through awareness, through the systems available for seeking justice, and through whatever is at our disposal to do that. The topic of the today's conference as to how we empower the consumer in this changing dynamic and how the consumer protection scenario is changing. Many of the aspects were touched by Justice Agrawal, but I want to pick up a few just to supplement what he said in an excellent manner, which made a lot of sense because he gave us a very comprehensive view from all sides, from awareness to the legal framework, as to how the old act needed to be transformed to the new act, and how all the new issues are to be taken into account before we can take a real perspective on consumer protection. So let me start with the awareness part. Sir mentioned about Jago Grahak Jago, but that's only one part which is from the government. I think we need to put awareness in the minds of consumers, and that includes everyone living in the country. And we have to catch them young. I think consumer protection has to be part of the curriculum in schools, the colleges, and I come across many clubs and small bodies that are part of various educational institutions that are trying to instill that awareness into the young minds. And I think that's a good start. And I think that will go a long way in ensuring that the rights are protected. I'll give a small example about road safety and traffic rules, and how in some of the Western countries, the sense of complying with traffic rules, complying with road safety is instilled into children from such a young age that, when they cross the road, it is like, getting programmed in their genetic makeup that first you have to look this way, and then cross the road. So I think the way they program this, I think in a similar way, we need to instill so much of input about consumer awareness that any young consumer, when he goes to buy, he checks for the MRP, he checks for the expiry date, he checks for the quality, he checks the source of the supplier, whether there is any warranty guarantee. So all these things should come automatically into the normal behavior of a person. Then only consumer awareness, I would presume, would have taken some effect in this country. Now, till everything is working, there is no problem. But when something goes wrong, then of course there are avenues, and we have to strengthen those systems as to how consumer grievances are addressed by our system. So first is, of course, the manufacturer, the supplier, the trader, they have to solve the problem. And this dynamic is getting complicated because when you are buying face-to-face from a corner store, when you are buying face-to-face from a shop which is located in your mohalla or in your town or in your city, you knew that if something was wrong, I would go to him. And because of this relationship that existed, adequate measures will be taken to maybe repair it or to replace it if it is effective. But in this world of the Amazons and Flipkarts, when the other side is not visible and when just a courier is coming to your place, I think the grievance redressal mechanism, strengthening that becomes more and more important as each day passes by. And we have a national consumer helpline. Now it's at 1915. You can dial 1915 to register a grievance. And we do analyze the data of the kind of complaints that are coming into the helpline. And we have seen that over last 4.5 years, the number of percentage of complaints pertaining to e-commerce has increased from 8% to about 45% plus. That shows that in the new consumer framework, the e-commerce systems, their grievance redressal has to be strengthened by the companies, by government through enforcement, and by the voluntary organizations and other civil society organizations, by putting pressure on the system that they need to put their grievance redressal systems in the order. Now, there are many other aspects which Justice Agrawal also mentioned in his speech. which are related to this e-commerce framework. And as Ministry of Consumer Affairs, we are trying to address them one by one. Sir mentioned about fake reviews, and I'm very happy to announce the participants today that now we have developed a Bureau of Indian Standard, a BI standard, on how a particular e-commerce site or a facility should have a system to handle fake reviews. So we are launching this day after tomorrow, and it is being published, and it will come into effect on Friday. And then first we will make it voluntary, and then maybe gradually we'll make it compulsory for the companies to adhere to these standards, because the review has a great impact on the buying behavior of the consumer on an e-commerce site. I personally, when I go to an e-commerce site and I don't know the source, but if I see 5 stars or 4.5 stars out of 5, then my comfort level immediately increases, and I am motivated to press the buy button. But what if that 4.5 or 5 stars were fake and somebody was manipulating the system? So the consumer needs to be assured that whatever review he's watching, they are robust, they are objective, and they are not being manipulated or being gamed by somebody, either the supplier or the e-commerce platform. So that is one aspect. Justice Agrawal also mentioned about the misleading advertisements. Now, misleading advertisements is easy to control in print and the conventional television media. But when it comes to online advertising, where things can quickly change and you can put an ad and remove it after 5 minutes or 5 days, then the dynamic changes. So then there is this new world of social influencers, people on Instagram and other forms of social media. They take money to endorse a product, but they are not disclosing it. Now, how will the buyer know, how will the consumer know whether this is a paid publicity or an independently judged facility? So we've also now created a new set of guidelines on how and when the social influencer needs to disclose its connection with the trader or the manufacturer as to whether he or she has been paid to endorse a product. This is like the endorsement in advertisements. Then if you see, there is, as we speak, the summit happening in Egypt, in Sharm el-Sheikh, on how to protect environment and how to protect the whole world has to come together for reducing the adverse effects of climate change. And I think this ministry has a big role to play, because when it comes to climate change, I think if the consumers start driving products which are sustainable, which have less impact on environment, and they start asking for systems that are environment friendly, I think then only this push can take place. Yesterday, I was with the CEO of the Niti Aayog, and we discussed as to how Honorable Prime Minister's mission of life, which is lifestyle for environment, as to how from the manufacturer side, from the regulator side, and from the consumer side, all three sides, we push this concept of life so that adverse effect to environment and climate are minimized. So we are doing 2-3 things which are related to our ministry and also to that aspect, which I would like to mention today. One is that we are majorly pushing on right to repair. If you realize that some of the electronic products, the manufacturers, in order to make more profits, they are indulging in something called planned obsolescence. So they design a product so that cannot be used after 3 years or 2 years. They will have very stringent systems of repair and maintenance, and they will make the repair so expensive that if you want to take it to repair, you might be pushed into buying a new version of the product or a new product. So all that is against environment, and we are pushing for right to repair. We are now developing a framework with the academicians and with the stakeholders from the industry as to how we can prolong the life of a product so that not only it saves money for the consumer, it is friendly to the environment, because you are reducing the electronic waste that goes into the system. And by the way, electronic waste is more harmful than the chemical waste or the other waste that are used to. But the silicon and other components, when they seep into the underground water or into our soil system, they will have major adverse effects, and only time will tell as to how harmful the e-waste are. So we are focusing on how to reduce e-waste through a consumer-driven movement. The other thing that we did, and we received some success day before yesterday in convincing the industry that in electronic devices, there has to be one common charging port. If you see today, the iPhones will have a different charging port, the Android phones will have a different charging port, the laptops will have a different charging port. So, sorry, in every home, there will be 10 chargers, 5 chargers, depending on and this is a total waste. So we are now pushing, and so is European Union, that all these smart devices should have one charging port, so that one charger can be used with multiple devices, because charging takes place in 45 minutes, 1 hour, and after that, that charger has no value. So if you can use the same charger for all kinds of electronic devices, again, the e-waste is going to be reduced. And so, and plus people will have to spend less money in buying the charging systems for their home appliances. So that we received some agreement day before yesterday in the meeting with stakeholders, and all the electronic manufacturers, including Apple and Android and Dell and HCL, and everyone agreed that with a time frame, they will all converge onto a single port, which is USB-C port, so that the wastage of buying more number of chargers and thereby producing more e-waste, that is minimized. We are also both in line with the two things that I said, preparing a repair and maintenance portal, because many a times, I don't know, everybody present here would have the water purifiers in their homes, which are called the RO filters or whatever. And I don't know whether you realize that every time somebody will come to repair and they will say, "Isabi stick change karna hai," and he will say, "This is 3,000 rupees." So there is no transparency in the information as to what is the life of the candle which is inside the purifier, when does it change, who is certifying that, whether that product is coming from an authentic party or it's a third-party product. So all that information is not transparent. So on Monday, we have called all the water purifier companies of the country, and we are saying that please have a transparent system so that consumer is not taken for a ride so this is one aspect which I wanted to mention, that the government has to nudge these companies to behave more and more responsibly towards the consumer. So once you do that, when the information is available, when the rates, the money to be charged is available in a transparent manner, maybe consumer will be able to react better to this scenario. We were looking at the warranty of one of the RO manufacturers. I will not name them. And there was a provision which says you can file a complaint only through our app. So before you file a complaint, please download our app. So we thought that, I think it's an unfair trade practice, because you can't force anybody. And suppose somebody has a phone which is not a smartphone. There is no system in their phone of having an app. Then what does he or she do? Can he or she not file a complaint? So we thought that was a restrictive trade practice, and that should be prevented. So on Monday's discussion with them, we will look into all these possibilities. Similarly, how on e-commerce site are the search results coming? When the consumer is searching for a product, he gets a list of 10 or 20 products on page 1. What is the algorithm that decides which product should be displayed first? Is it alphabetical order? Is it in the price descending order or ascending order of the price? So many e-commerce platforms do this gaming, and they put their preferred suppliers on the first page. So we have no problem with that. But I think the consumer has a right to know on what basis the display results have been put forth on the screen of the consumer. So it's more in terms of disclosure So we are saying you do whatever you want, but keep it disclosed to the consumer so he or she is aware of what is the logic of this product and what is coming at serial number 1, 2, 3, 4. How is that being determined? Because sometimes a good product may be listed at serial number 123. And given the attention span on these days, people are busy. Nobody goes to page number 6 to look for a product. People generally see what is there on page number 1. So what is the logic that is determining? So that algorithm disclosure we are seeking in the new e-commerce rules. In the new e-commerce rules that are under being developed, we are also seeking transparency. We are also seeking protection of privacy of the data of the consumers. We are saying that if you are e-commerce platform, you have to be fair in terms of choice of a courier service, choice of other logistics service, choice of payment gateway. You cannot force a buyer or a seller to only use Paytm or only use this service provider. It has to be fair and transparent, and that choice should be the consumer to choose that particular associated service. So these are little ways to strengthen the hands of the consumer. And I think in the whole thing, and as is evident from today's the wonderful seminar organized by Dr. Patil and his team, we have to constantly engage. This is a dynamic world, and nobody knows everything. I mean, neither the government knows everything, nor the institutions, nor the consumer organizations. But as Honorable Prime Minister says, the whole of government approach, when we constantly engage with everyone and take a holistic view, maybe we get a better hang of the situation, and and then we are able to plan it in a better way. So I think this is a great effort by Dr. Patil to put this seminar together. There are experts led by, of course, Justice Agarwal, who is our guardian in this whole ecosystem, and everybody else. So when the views are shared, when the ideas are exchanged, then only we will be able to come up with some solutions that are in the overall interest of the consumers of this country. So once again, I want to congratulate you for organizing me, and thank you very much for calling me here. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful words. I'm very sure that our audiences have got great insights on how you gave the relevant examples of road safety and how the social conditioning and human programming helps to create the consumer awareness, and how the same is the only way to bring in the proper consumer framework. You also highlighted the issue on e-waste, technology convergence, algorithm, and the transparency and privacy issues related to it. Thank you so much for your words, sir. With this, I would like to invite Shri Hemkumar Pandey, sir, for his views on the book Commentary on Consumer Protection Act 2019. Over to you, sir.
Kindly unmute, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Tasneem. Learned dignitaries who are present virtually, all of us are virtually out there. Professor Patil, thank you so much for remembering me, giving me this opportunity, and and allowing me to write a message on the book that has just been released, Commentary on Consumer Protection Act 2019, and sending me a copy of that well before this conference. I have been witness to your diligence and meticulous work during 2016 and 17, and I must tell you, there are not many people who take it wholeheartedly on a subject which is very dry, where we talk only, our words and deeds do not match. In a country where virtually there is no consumer movement, writing a book which will be helpful to all, and bringing it in today's conference. I must compliment you, your team. Learned dignitaries, it's been wonderful listening to learned Justice Agrawal, my dear colleague, Mr. Rohit Kumar Singh, Secretary of the Department, and as a consumer, I fully endorse the views that have been submitted so far, and I have been really, whenever I go to the market, whenever I face consumer issues, and I must tell you, I am a lone voice. Nobody standing on my right or left supports me when I say, ask for the date of manufacture, expiry date, MRP, and even the service charge. That was the issue that we had been handling, and there has been no clarity. Well, in my message, I have already mentioned about the book. The empowerment of the consumer has been, accorded the highest priority by Government of India. It has taken a significant step for protection of consumer rights by enacting Consumer Protection Act in 2019 and bringing it into the force with effect from 20th July 2020. The book, Commentary on Consumer Protection Act, is a ready reckoner to consumers to know about their basic rights, the 6 rights, procedures, administrative functions, enforcement orders, and remedies available on violation of their rights. This book provides clarity about the underlying principles of consumer law and policy considerations, which have been instrumental in shaping the vast area of the law. This book seeks to provide a comprehensive analysis of Consumer Protection Act 2019, and it covers all facets of consumer law in India from a critical lens, tracing the development of consumer law jurisprudence and policy measures undertaken by the government, and highlighting the salient features of the Consumer Protection Act 2019 and the rules and regulations framed therein. Learned participants, I had a privilege to go through the book and appreciate the hard and untiring efforts that have gone into making this book. Being a former Secretary of the Consumer Affairs in Government of India, I feel that this book is the need of the hour to spread the awareness in a holistic manner. It's a holistic legislation, and we need to know about it more and more, and ensure, please allow me to say a few more things. I think I have about 10 minutes to talk. And I must say that we are very prompt in making laws. Even the 1986 Act came immediately after, the world knew that there have to be, there are consumers, and consumers need to be protected. So we brought a law in 1986, right? But I think there are areas we are very, very slow, or there's a huge deficit in implementing, in delivering and implementing. I would urge, the 3-tier system may look into the decisions that they have taken in past. Have they really been implemented? Has the consumer ultimately received what was delivered in their favor? But there are very few decisions which come in favor of consumers, but if they come, do they really reach? I mean, is there any mechanism? So I think that is what we need to know. And I must say the 3-tier system needs to function in a much better and speedier manner. I would come with my suggestions how it can do that. There would have been no need of CCPA in the new act had our 3 system delivered in time and ensured that the decision reaches the consumer. I was part of the lawmaking, the 2019 Act, and I'm very distressed to note that when the Act came in 2019, it was really diluted, and the dilution continues. I think we need a strong legislation. I mean, we have deficit in implementing, but even the legislation, should be futuristic, should be visionary, and I think it needs to be taken care of that way. Particularly in a country where civic sense and rule of law is at premium, I think we need to address consumer protection in a manner that it's a win-win for all. I was listening very intently to my colleague in the ministry, who is secretary, Mr. Secretary, was telling about water filters, which I am right now struggling. The traffic, we have made wide roads, everything, but there's still the slow-moving traffic, always plies on the right. And I keep on traveling to my native place in Uttarakhand, and every day I have to drive on the left side because the slow-moving traffic is on the right side of the wide road. So civic sense, rule of law, and as a consumer on the road, or as a consumer drinking water, or using iPhone. I have an iPhone, but I can't use 5G in Delhi itself because they are yet to get it. So you go for the Android phone or what? So and this is going to remain. So it's a high time. I agree with Dr. Agrawal and Mr. Rohit Kumar Singh. There's a high time, from Jago, Grahak, Jago. We have enough of it. Jago, Grahak, Jago, and it's an international conference. It's a diverse country. Even meaning of Jago, Grahak, Jago, I don't think pan-India all people understand. But it's a high time, particularly if we really want sellers of goods and services also to be responsible. It's high time that we start a movement, beware sellers, especially in area of counterfeiting and smuggled goods. I am part of the FICCI committee, Cascade committee, which talks about counterfeiting and smuggling. And I must tell you, there's hell out there about the counterfeits, particularly in rural India. And many of the consumers are in rural India. They don't have choice. They don't have information. So particularly on counterfeit. So it's a beware seller movement also needs huge strengthening. I mean, it's for consideration of the two important dignitaries who are there in the conference today, Justice Agrawal and Mr. Secretary. May I also urge Justice Agrawal and Mr. Secretary that I think in the three-tier system, the National Commission, the State Commission, and the District Commissions, I think the number of hearings have to be limited. In each case, only 2 hearings should be there. I mean, maximum with a lot of restraint, 3rd hearing should be allowed, and otherwise no more than 2 hearings, please. If that can be first piloted and then enforced. May I also suggest that no seller of goods or services should be allowed to engage professional lawyers for pleading their case. Consumers are advised to come and present their case, whereas the big companies bring battery of lawyers. And I must tell you, I mean, it's the plight of the consumer is terrible. So please ensure that no professional lawyer is engaged by the seller. I mean, if it can be done, we'll address a huge problem. I remember the words of the then president, who was during my time president of the National Commission. He was telling me that as the judge of the Supreme Court, he used to be party to many orders in insurance cases in favor of the companies. When he came over to the National Commission on insurance cases, he was wondering. He was saying that at that point of time, I think had the decision been made in favor of the consumer, it would have been better. Because for a small compensation also, many a times insurance companies go to the judicial area, and it becomes difficult for a consumer to get a small meager compensation also, because again a cost is there. So if these issues are addressed, I think it will go a long way in making the Consumer Protection Act a real boon for the consumer protection in the country. My compliments to Professor Patil, his team, National Law School for organizing a wonderful, conference at the right moment, when the book is out, when the journal is being, published, and the National Consumer Day is about a month away, and then the International Consumer Day. So I think we need a solid consumer movement in this country, and we need. I am for beware sellers, not for the jago grag jago. We are aware, but at the mercy of sellers. So beware sellers. Thank you, organizers. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and have a wonderful 2-day deliberations on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights. And I'm sure our audiences must be uploading the phrase sellers beware, and everyone will be like recommending, yes, we want this. Thank you so much for your views and highlighting your views on the book Commentary on Consumer Protection Act 2019. It's one of a kind. Thank you so much, sir. With this, I would like to request our IT person to play the recording sent by Ms. Helen Laurent, Director General, Consumer International, as Professor Patil already introduced that she couldn't be joining virtually, hence she has sent her video, and I would like to request to play the same. Over to you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, esteemed participants, my name is Helena Laurent. I am the Director General of Consumers International. It's my great pleasure and privilege to be able to join you, at least virtually, here today. I'm only sorry I can't join in person due to prior travel, but I very much look forward to seeing you in 2023 and would love to hear the feedback from this meeting. Such an important meeting on new facets of consumer protection, and congratulations to the National Law School of India University, the organizing committee, and Professor for bringing this group together on such pertinent topics. Consumers International is a network of 200 consumer rights organizations in 100 countries. I say that because we see across the world the issues that consumer associations, consumer protection and empowerment advocates are working on day in, day out. And you've hit on exactly the right ones. In a fragmenting world, and a world which seems to be pulled apart on so many different fronts, I am constantly, I think the word is comforted, by seeing how the common principles of consumer protection and empowerment unite us all and unite organizations in very different economies and different places in the world. The UN guidelines, the United Nations guidelines on consumer protection in particular, remain as relevant as they were in 1985, before the time of, I'm sure, many of you in the audience. The issues of access, of safety remain as important, if not more so, these days. And if I look at your agenda and the topics that we work on, day in, day out, there are certain that we still need to double down on. We need to find the answers to these questions rapidly. How do we truly protect vulnerable consumers when vulnerability is now experienced in totally different ways through online markets? How do we truly promote sustainable consumption patterns to the point where a sustainable marketplace is the norm? This must happen if we're to meet the climate crisis. How do we truly ensure that online marketplaces are at least as safe as traditional marketplaces? These things need to be far more visible on leaders' agendas. They need to be worked on in a collaborative manner between governments, civil society, academia, and business. And that's why it's so important to be coming together to explore these today on the basis of robust, evidence-based insight. It's also why I'm so pleased that under the presidency of the G20 of India, that consumer protection will take a more important place. I am certainly excited and ready to be supportive in that effort, and very much hope that we can keep consumer protection and empowerment and the issues that are covered in that on the G20 agenda. Let's make sure that consumers, that people in the marketplace are at the center of those conversations. As you journey through your agenda today, I would be fascinated to hear your thoughts on further questions. How do we engage the younger consumers, the next generation, to act, to be part of these questions? How can we prepare them to be ready for the marketplace of the future and to be consumer advocates for the future? How do we evolve and develop our institutions, our relationships, our collaboration to ensure that consumer protection and empowerment is strengthened? How do we support people through a cost of living crisis and yet focus and build for the future for a fair, safe and sustainable marketplace for all of us, keeping both short-term needs and long-term on our radar at the same time and making progress together? These, I am sure you'll agree, are questions that all leaders should have on their to-do list, and I hope together we will be able to make steps forward. My very best wishes for your meeting and important conference here over the coming days. I look forward to hearing from you on these crucial points, and my very best wishes for a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
That was an insightful address. With this, we come towards the end of our inaugural session. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Ashokar Patil to give his closing remarks and propose vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tasneem. I thank all the chief guests, Honorable Justice R.K. Agarwal. He spoke about the CPA 2019 and other aspects, how we can make it more effective, and delivered excellent inaugural speech. I thank Justice R.K. Agarwal for his address. Thank you very much, sir. Then our secretary, Sri Rohit Kumar Singh, he, as usual, he discussed new innovative things like right to repair, fake review, many things. So what we were thinking earlier, so whatever developed countries are doing, later we used to follow that. Now ourselves we are starting and other countries are following. So that is the view, the work what Ministry of Consumer Affairs is doing under the leadership of Shri Rohit Kumar Singh. So I thank you very much, sir, for your very thoughtful address. Thank you very much, sir. Then our other chief guest, Shri Hem Kumar Pandey, sir, discussed about I thank him for writing a message for this book. And always he is a motivator for youngsters. And because of the past relationship of mine with the ministry, that motivate me to do this particular work. So actually, I wanted to write a book in 2014, but then I come to know that the amendment was happening to 86. Then it was stopped. The new legislation bringing that one moved. So that's why I postponed my book, and ultimately this year 2022. And I thank Thomson and Reuter publisher also, who has published this book, and also Hem Kumar Pandey sir as a secretary, and now after retirement, how consumer law works in society. He gives his insights and suggestions for us. Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable suggestions. And Miss Helena Laurent, Director General, Consumer International, always Indian, some of the very active NGOs, VCOs, voluntary consumer organizations, are member to CI. Even consumer chair of National Law School is also member of Consumer International. And always what is happening at the international level, we are interacting with each other and disseminating update information among all the members of CI. And every time whatever programs happens, even at the UN level, CI is directly connected. So we, as a member of CI, we also participate in those programs. So she delivered what is how to motivate the young generation, how to advocacy, young generation advocacy towards consumer protection, how to make it. So all those things she discussed, and also she has a lot of respect to India, and always whenever she speaks, appreciates us for consumer protection, whatever we are doing in India. And our Vice Chancellor, Sudhir Krishnaswamy, because of last moment emergency appointment meeting, so he could not able to attend. So in his absence, I thank our Vice Chancellor, Registrar, and everybody who helped us to organize this program. And with this, I conclude. Before concluding, once again, I thank all the participants who are attending this program. And after this inaugural session, I request all the participants, you have to join parallel sessions. And each parallel session, there are 6 parallel sessions. Each parallel session is having a independent Zoom link. So through that Zoom link only, you have to join that theme parallel session. So I request you to, whichever parallel session you are there, presenters or keynote address or chairpersons, kindly look into your parallel session Zoom link and join. If you have any technical issues, kindly contact the technical person's mobile number is also given. So with this, I conclude. Thank you very much, sir, once again for your valuable suggestions and participation in the inauguration. By this, we conclude the inaugural session. I request all the participants to join parallel session. Thank you very much, sir.